Welcome back to another Barron Street Research Analysis. This is Trade Alts. I'm here with Big Tig. We're going to cover some of the stocks that we've been talking about and also see if we can find some other opportunities. So, Big Tig, how you doing today?
What's up, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a little while since our last update, but there's been a lot of things that have happened since then, obviously. I guess I'll just jump into it. One of the ones that we talked about was ServiceNow. And ServiceNow chart looks absolutely disgusting. I'll be real about it. It looks absolutely disgusting. But but might be turning around here actually. I think it's pretty good time to actually go over it. Kind of the first thing that I'll say, like, and you can see my EMA bands that I have there that I have on here. For the first time, really, since kind of this range consolidation here before we got the continuation to the downside, and you see this 50 EMA. This is on the daily time frame. Has been just absolute filthy, rock solid resistance. And for the first time, we're actually starting to, again, form a bit of a range here. We had a bit of an attempt higher last week. I've actually been trading ServiceNow quite a bit over the last few weeks. But again, had kind of like this failed attempt back inside of this range that's developing here. I had an alert at $83 on ServiceNow. We basically came right down to the key level here. And again, this is really good support. So as far as like supports go, like critical important supports, this key level at around 82.59, $83, something like that. So insanely important for kind of like the higher time frames. If this thing is going to have any chance at actually, turning around and reversing some of this horrific move, that support is the support. Now you break that, and it's all bets are off, and we're probably continuing a lot lower. Um, for more of like an intermediary or like intermediate time frame, something that I would say is measured in days. That we could potentially see this upcoming week. This 95.61 level here is something that I do think it's really important. First of all, it's above, or I'm sorry, it's below the current EMAs that are here. Which, by the way, the red EMA is the fast EMA. That's the 8 EMA. The yellow is the 21 and the green is the 50. So just to give you an idea of what those are. But as long as price is above all of the EMAs, and you can see that like that the red 8 EMA bullishly crossed the 21, and then it's on its way up to the 50. As long as we're in this posturing, I do think that it's bullish. It's a better sign for service now in terms of like continuation of this move to try to actually test some of these higher levels. So these are your quarterly pivots, and you can see the S1 held up very nicely as a support. So for me, what hasn't been tapped yet, and it doesn't need to be tapped necessarily, but something that I would be well aware of to the upside is your quarterly pivot here at 118. So as far as kind of like an upside target, something, and it's comes pretty well in line with, prices spend a bit of time around these levels as resistance. You really could draw kind of like a resistance SR zone here. I would say like this area here in terms of, pretty significant resistance for service now. You start to break and trade above that, then, I mean, this thing can absolutely go. If you throw on Ichimoku, just for a trend analysis, you can see we don't have, let me actually turn off these. But we don't actually have like a bullish TK cross yet. So this edge to edge. So again, like if you for those of you who are in my trade alts group, and we've talked about edge to edge trades extensively using Ichimoku. You didn't have an entry here on this red candle into cloud because your TK lines were still bearish. They were positioned bearishly. I actually had I had like a really nice reversion here before I had gapped down back to retest kind of around these lows. That was a really nice short potential setup right there. But now kind of to you got kind of you try to get inside a cloud, close below. Um, again, you did here, but again, you don't have your basically your daily Tenkin right now is like a very important support. But what I want to see going forward, and if this is something that can happen over the next, I would say, week or two, Um, I would be looking for a potential move. So again, my first target above kind of like where we already had this rejection here around 110 would be this red zone that you're seeing on my screen, which again is kind of like the resistance from back in March plus your quarterly pivot here. I think that's a really nice level to look at. But then the second target that I would be looking at is actually this flat part of your Kumo, like the flat part of cloud right here, which is your edge to edge target if you get the trade. So I'm not going to get too much into it because it's going to take me all day to, well, it's not really, but it's going to take me more time to explain that. But basically what I'm waiting for here is, you know, if we can continue to open and close candles inside a cloud, that's really good. And then you want to see this blue line bullishly cross your yellow region here. And you see that while those things are happening, um, that's going to give you a target, or it's going to give you, it's going to activate the edge to edge, which is going to give you a target for me right around 128. And you have, we have another month or so for this to kind of play out. So plenty of time. The way that things have been kind of looking, especially again, you look at, I'm not going to get into that today, but you look at, how Nasdaq's performed. You look at how, the S&P has performed. Or especially it's Memorial Day today, and we've had some crazy price action over the weekend. Futures open like very, very bullishly. So it should be a really interesting open, New York Open tomorrow morning. But anyway, I do think that it's likely to kind of hold this posturing while we wait for that. And then again, that would be my two targets to the upside as long as that happens. If you lose 95, 95.60 to the downside, I would be very, 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 very cautious. And probably look for a full rotation back down to the lows if that was to happen. But for now, honestly, to me, it looks pretty good. So again, it is something I've been trading every week. I basically trade, and I've been trading the SaaS names about once a week on average because there has been kind of this rotation into these names. Kind of like from chips to SaaS to going back and forth. Chips have been incredible, but you know that's likely to persist. To me, this is more, and honestly, again, the chart looks pretty bad if you zoom out, but I do think that we're trying to put in some kind of turnaround here, kind of the way that I read this. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the whole AI SaaS apocalypse, whatever they were calling it. It sounds like they're starting to kind of figure out which companies are actually going to be impacted and which aren't. And it seems like
yeah,
the workflow names like CRM and Now are kind of better positioned than a lot of the other ones. Plus, Jensen, you got the Jensen effect with them, with NVIDIA partnering with ServiceNow. So anything Jensen touches turns
I
to
know
gold.
that
So
that is explicitly something that we said as well when we were talking about these SaaS names a while back, is that they're going to come back at some point. Like some of them will, right? Like some of them are going to, and like I think, again, ServiceNow is kind of, I think it is trying to put in a bit of a bottom here. I would agree as long as it's above 95.60. Like I don't hate the name as much as I did on this move down, which rightfully so. Like this was extremely bearish move down. But we did say that like there's gonna be some winners out of this, that they're gonna adjust and I mean it is what it is. But I think ServiceNow doesn't look too bad at all. I think that this is well it looked again, higher time frame, not the best, but in terms of again trying to establish, like trying to turn this trend around, this is like the very beginning stages of that happening. It's kind of what you're seeing here. And to the thing is, like, you have what you might have a very nice edge to edge trade, again looking at these two targets that I discussed earlier, but it's not really until price gets above cloud that and I'm not excited about it. You know what I mean? Like as far as like looking for like
yeah,
a full on, like a full on trend reversal that's like, seeing much higher prices. It's like you need price to get back above cloud first. This is gonna likely take some time. This could take months to kind of develop and play itself out. But as far as a trade, this is kind of one of those classic Ichimoku setups that I love and that my group's very familiar with. That again, we're not there yet, but we're close. We're probably close, like within a week or two. And then you're probably still, again, as long as price is holding above these levels, you'd be looking for a continuation up to these two targets, which I do like those two targets quite a bit. So that's ServiceNow. So we
Nice.
cover it because we've hated it for a while, rightfully so, and we've been right about that. But I think the hate needs to chill for a little bit. I think
We like it. We like
I
it
mean,
now.
yeah. Well, I don't know if I
I
say I
like it.
like it. Like
I like it. I bought
I
some
I like it a bit. I don't hate it anymore. I don't think it. You're
long
right, but
term.
it's like I see. Again, from a trading perspective, this is definitely interesting now. Like it's
Yeah, I bought some for more of a longer term play. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's much.
totally.
But yeah, you get above like 130, and then we can like then it's we this is gonna start to look much better. So I'm trying to think like what's next on our list here. I guess I'd have to go to Barron Street and go to Lion. So Lion, this has been one that's been absolutely crazy. I'm gonna actually try to switch to this one because I'm trying what I've been trying to do, and I'm not gonna be able to do that, am I? Um, I really need to get all of our analysis onto Barron Street, like particular. That way, like it's already there because I keep having to go back to my main. So this one, I'm
Well,
going to.
while you do that, I'll just kind of set up like kind of what's happening.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they just came out with their earnings, and they kind of blew out expectations. They didn't really talk about the Michael Jackson movie, which obviously has been killing it. We also called that. I mean, it wasn't that hard to see. I mean, everybody, especially international, everybody loves Michael Jackson. So we kind of thought it was a pretty good probability it would do well. But this last quarter, they did well, and it wasn't because of Michael Jackson. So it was the house-made movie and their library and their TV. I'm sure they probably did get some Michael Jackson like pre revenue from some of their international partners or something, but it's basically setting up to be another interesting quarter next year because I think Michael Jackson is I think it's going to be over 800 million after this weekend. So it should probably cross a billion at some point, which I think is the first time Lionsgate has gone over a billion, even with, the Hunger Games and Twilight and all that stuff, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so,
So this
uh,
right here is crazy. And again, I remember looking at this, the last time we looked at this is I was expecting like there were two different cup and handle potentials that I was like interested in. And this first one, we got your move up and then your pullback and then your continuation higher. And it was basically just been like bullish continuation this entire thing. The last time that we looked at this, probably a month ago, I was saying here that like watch for this high to get ran and then get, we could see a bit of a larger pullback to give you kind of the cup and handle up here. And we did get the SFP. We did kind of get the run up into this actually, and then a bit of a pullback, but it wasn't that much of a pullback, and this thing just absolutely ripped higher. Um, I mean, overall, this chart is doing very well. And I already said like this stuff here, like I don't pay attention to what happened back here. It doesn't really matter. Um, I mean, this is like you can't really use this in real any form anyway. It's really once the chart started trading like a normal chart that this is the only analysis that I really care about and that I can kind of pull from. But I mean, really, like you're looking, so I already had this circled, but when you break this high like we did, and we've definitively broken it, really the next target that I'm looking at is about 17 bucks. Like I do think that this can continue up over time to potentially test this $17 region. So again, Lion, we've been bullish on it. I don't see any reason to not be continue to be bullish on it. And I think that over time that it's likely, again, now you have a pretty good gap here. So this is going to be something to kind of keep in mind for like the next, the coming weeks to months. But so like, this gap, maybe does it get filled? Doesn't have to. I mean, will it get filled at some point? Yes, I'd probably put a fair bit of money that that's going to get filled at some point, but it doesn't have to come back here anytime soon. It's because, again, I know when you have this kind of a daily candle that looks like this, I don't necessarily expect it to like fill anytime soon. And by anytime soon, I mean like this week or even next week. Like this could take some time to play out before maybe it comes back, gives you some kind of, maybe even some kind of potential trade there. Is this an important level to watch? Yes, to me it is. And then this SFP here, I'm gonna actually just change this now because that's no longer, an SFP, anything that I would like obviously label this one. But this level is still very important to me. Now I would say on like a midterm time frame, I would not want to see this level lost. So this level here at 1282, which was your prior high, which we obviously came up. We've tested this area, spent some time consolidating, and then again, we've definitively broke it, gapped up. Obviously, earnings had a lot to do with that, but I do not, again, if this is going to continue to push to new highs, I don't necessarily expect this level to be retested anytime soon. I probably wouldn't want it to be retested soon. Is the point there? Um, so anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this chart
Yeah,
now.
I mean, longer term, they've done really well, kind of mitigating risk on a lot of their plays. Like for the Michael Jackson movie, for example, they sell most of the international markets, so it's not like they're going to get all that 800 million, right? But they did announce a sequel to the Michael Jackson movie, which I'm guessing, just be more different times of his life in the next movie or something. And now that they've had success with this one, they probably won't hedge as much next time. So I mean, there could be a lot more upside on the sequel, which probably might be 2 years before that happens. But and then they got the whole Mel Gibson Resurrection of Christ next year, which I mean, I kind of feel like that could do similar numbers. Just kind of crazy huge numbers. And I don't think that's priced in still. So they've got some
Yeah.
cool stuff that they're working on. Their poison pill that they had, I think because of the stars deal, there was some kind of people tried to take over the company. There was a poison pill enacted that I think that expires pretty soon. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the upside. I mean, it's obviously a potential takeout play for some of these larger, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, people that are in the streaming or want to be in the streaming business. So it's got a lot going for it. That's for sure.
Um. Yeah. So I mean, as far as like any kind of pullback targets, I wouldn't. Kind of not my. If I'm trading options on this thing or something like that, I'd be interested in what happens on Tuesday or Wednesday, but probably not. But I mean, from like just the pullback potential, like this is likely going to take. I mean, this thing can just keep going. Honestly, I don't like. This is an extremely bullish candle. My guess is it's probably going to cool off a little bit, or maybe it pushes a bit higher first and then kind of like forms some kind of range, kind of similar to this. Like, and this is nothing wrong with this. I mean, this is a really nice formation here. Held your 21 EMA perfectly there. So that's kind of my thing. Is like, if I'm looking for, like, if I haven't taken a trade on this and I'm looking for a new trade, for me, like, there's probably not going to be one for a little while. I mean, you could like go on like some low time frame, an hourly or something, and try to find like, some kind of like, again, maybe on the hourly, kind of look at where your 21 is. That's been decent, but I mean, that's like you're like really getting into like lower time frames that might get you in a bit of trouble. I think like if you're looking at this from like a swing trade or from like a longer term hold, um, this is a chart that obviously has done really well. It looks good. To me, it's probably going up here. It's kind of like the next target that I would have for it. But or at least like give it some time now to form a range and see what happens. And then maybe you let your moving averages catch up, that type of stuff, and then you'll be able to find like a more definitive trade setup on lower time frames, or like that it has some support behind it. But overall, again, this is another one. Been very right about this. Today's worked out really nicely, and my goodness, it's up huge. So, I guess I'll kind of just go down the list. So here's one that I know that you've talked about the last
Mhm.
time, and I like it was way down here. I know that
Yeah, was it
this
like
thing is
420 or
this
something?
thing is like up massively since we last spoke about this. Um, I mean, as far as it goes now, like you're back in this long range from last year, and I mean, geez, like it's I don't even know. Like honestly, um, yeah, holy smokes, man.
Yep.
Let me kind of
It's
pull
I
this
mean, look at
up.
that chart.
So
It's
you're
insane.
back. You basically you tagged your value area low, like your macro value area low, which from a volume perspective is a really important level. And then again, like you came up into it, obviously like a pretty nice rejection off of that. For the time being, like, is this like I would be a little cautious. This seems kind of like this is a nice area for a bit of a pullback. I would say that this is a pretty ugly. It could have like I would have loved to have this actually close like where it opened. That would be just like telltale. My goodness, highs in, and we're gonna pull back. But it doesn't mean that like and like on a move up like this, it's just really be looking for a bit of a pullback like into into a level, and then probably tries again something like that. But yeah, this candle is pretty. I mean, it's right into your value area low. Is this an old 6 month level? Or is this a sometimes I mark these. Yeah, sometimes I mark these because they're to me they're still really relevant. Um, but I was wondering if it was tapped or not, and that one was tapped. But yeah, you're getting a reaction off of here. I don't know. I mean, I think this thing probably pulls back from here. Either way,
Yeah.
it's been an
It's moved.
insane.
It's had
I
a
mean,
good
just
move.
off of here, it went up, 200 almost 250%, like which is ridiculous
Yeah.
in the span of like 2 months or something, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it pulls back, but it's I don't think it should have ever been down where it was, which is kind of why we don't normally talk about like basically micro caps that
Yeah.
look like they're literally going to zero. So there was obviously a reason we talked about this one. I mean, they have some interesting tech. Obviously, their earnings, the last, the recent move, I guess the last week or so was from earnings. And the earnings were garbage. I mean, like numbers wise. I mean, they make nothing. Their revenue's nothing. It's the potential of the markets that they're serving or going to serve is why people get into this one. And they they did announce some of the gift card things went through. I think they have 8 of the top 20 retailers, and they work with the 2 largest gift card companies. So basically, people are getting excited because if things work out well and like they think they will, as far as fighting fraud, the gift card fraud, then it'll be adopted by a bigger percentage of the market, and they could be a major player in that market, which it's pretty good sized a market, and that's only one of the things that they're doing. So that's kind of like the near term catalyst is the gift card stuff. Um, but they have some other stuff going on that is more longer term. So I think we've seen the bottom, but I agree we probably could see a nice pullback just because
I
it's
mean,
like you
after a
said, it's moved up. So yeah,
250% move,
exactly.
you're not too typically bothered, and you kind of probably want to see. I mean, like this is a decent move structurally. Like but this part where it's like really is going parabolic, right? It's like typically, if this is a high, which this candle looks kind of ugly, but again, I would have liked it to actually close like that. Would have been a little bit lower. Would be like I feel very strongly that that was the top of this move. Again, before like a pullback and maybe even continuation to the upside. But kind of what I would be looking at here is you have your golden pocket. It's this yellow zone, and it's of this impulsive move, right? So it's like over the last 4 days, the 4 trading days. And then this kind of SR support zone. This is the last area right here where you kind of found some resistance, right? So you spent 3 days rejecting off here. You got your pullback and then your big move up. So it wouldn't surprise me too much to see kind of a continuation down into this to test, like to see is this resistance now flipped into support, and then you could see new highs, something like that.
Mhm.
So as far as like another trade potential, if you didn't take, whatever, I mean, whatever. It's like
Yeah.
if you like
The Diplo.
talk about like an insane like analysis and discussion, right? The last time we
April
talked about this.
2nd. That's when we.
Absolutely crazy. But anyway, on a move like this, typically like there's two different things. So for me, like an immediate pullback back to this region is likely, not financial advice or anything, but like to me, like that's the Bible dip. Like this is, you want to see, like I would love to see this yellow 21 come into this region over the next week or so. You know what I'm saying? Like over or
Yeah.
like and kind of give it another support. Which by the way, like so far on this rise up, like you're 21 here, and you also had your 50, but you're 21 here, you're 21 here, you're 21 here, all really nice support. Okay. So like on this trend, that seems to be the one that price is respecting pretty well. Now, obviously, this is blowing up pretty good. But like again, you have like a fair amount of confluence around here in terms of looking for an icon like for me off of this low. So this anchored VWAP, wow, look at that. So like wow, okay. So your anchored VWAP also with your yellow 21 here, really nice confluence there. So again, over time, the anchored VWAPs is likely to, it's going to take some time to get up into this region, but this is definitely one as far as this is definitely a level that I would watch for like the coming weeks and months, kind of see how that plays out. But I do think that kind of the next time that we come in contact with this, it could, especially if it lines up with some nice confluence zones, this could be a really nice kind of like trade edition or like a confluence edition that happens. But yeah, so that's what I'd say about this. I'd say the local high probably in. I would feel way better if this had closed a little bit lower. But I mean, this is pretty. Like this is into, an old SR high time frame. This is literally came into your macro value area low off of a 250% move. Like it's not too much to ask for this to like probably give you a bit of a pullback here. But I do like this kind of like initial area first. Another lower time frame stuff, if you're kind of into like lower time frame day trades, that type of stuff, is maybe this 8 EMA. If it can kind of get up here to like where your 382 is, if this red line, I know this is now green, sorry about that, but like if this kind of works its way up as far as like a little scalp trade or something, maybe. But I don't like that nearly as much as I do like stuff kind of lining up here. If that makes sense. I think I'm gonna see it. We are. Oh wow, look at that. Okay. So interesting enough, your daily pivot is literally here. I'm sorry, your weekly pivot. So the pivots for this upcoming week, your weekly pivot is right here, basically at your 382. So that thought process of, if this 8 EMA manages to kind of make its way up over the coming couple of days, if you get a pullback into here, you'd have your 382, you'd have your weekly pivot, and you would maybe, again, like this is a maybe, but you could maybe have your EMA support above here too as well. So I take that back. I do like that again for a lower time frame. trade, something that you're measuring, holding this in maybe like hours to few days, something like that. You get some kind of initial reaction. I do kind of like that. It is nice to have that. What I would say it's the second confluence there, maybe the third. You could also take an anchored VWAP. Look at that. Isn't that magic? Isn't that magic?
It
So
is
you take your anchored VWAP from this impulsive move, which is
the
where
TA magic dust.
which is where the fib is measuring. By the way, what does that give you? It gives you like this exact level. So I do actually like this a lot, like quite a bit now, because again, the more confluence I have, the more interested I am in this. As far as taking a serious trade. To me, this is actually good enough. You have your 382, you have your weekly pivot, and you have your anchored VWAP off of this impulsive move. They're all sitting right at the same level here. That's very good. So like in terms of a bit of a early week pullback, this is likely to be pretty strong support, is my guess. Somewhere around the 1250, 1240, 1260 range, something like that. So I would not be surprised if you do get a bit of a pullback to at least get some kind of bounce. Now, is that your major low before continuation higher? Maybe. Probably not. Like my guess is probably not. It could, but I would like a bit of a deeper pullback in order to kind of, again, sometimes it doesn't always give you that though. And like things that are really, really strong like this, which is still really strong, it could just give you kind of like your shallow pullback and then just have another big leg up, but yeah, definitely like this is absolutely support one, support two to me. Two very big levels to watch for the coming, like literal. This is potentially this week. Again, like if I'm looking at this, especially with the pivot being there, anchor VWAP being where it is, which over the coming days, like this is going to move up quickly. So if Digimarc was able to get a dip on Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that into this level, that to me that's a viable dip. That makes sense. But I love it when things come together. So what is the old A team? I love it when a plan comes together. This is very nice. For a lower time frame trade. This is kind of more like swing trade, higher time frame, looking for bigger moves, but this could be a nice one as well. What's next? Probably got one or two more.
I mean, we can mention GameStop real quick, just since
I'd say at some point
called
though, we should do like
called the eBay.
We should do the the indices and stuff, but that's gonna
Yeah, for sure. We can end on that.
GME. So my goodness. I know you and
Well,
I have
let's not even look at the chart. The chart really.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, like we did a video on GameStop's likely next move, right? And Tig,
Yes,
will
sir.
you enlighten us about what that video was? And it was a short as well. So we talked about it in prior video, but then we did a dedicated short to it. Tig, you did that short.
Yeah.
And it was before, again, just something calling out in advance before things happen.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, kind of wondering what they were going to do with the cash and, kind of speculating on, Ryan Cohen's interview where he said he was going to make a large acquisition. And, we kind of thought about it for, I guess it was, like a month or something. And I started looking into the board of directors and noticed that the collectors, formerly Collectors Universe, used to be a public company. It's private now, but they do all the grading for, all these cards, the Pokemon cards, baseball cards, basketball, all the cards, PSA they own, which is like the largest one. I think they own like 80% of the grading market. So I'm like, they obviously have made a huge pivot at GameStop into collectibles, mostly in the Pokemon field. But it just made sense to me that eBay was kind of what they were hunting, because it's big in collectibles. It's an online business, which is what Ryan Cohen ran at Chewy, and it was, a lot, bigger than GameStop, and it kind of fit all the criteria. And so we put out a video like 2 days before they announced it, and so it was kind of cool. But as far as the reaction,
Yeah. Well, first
a
of
lot of people
all,
are worried about the
it
dilution and
was
like if they can
very
pull it off.
cool to nail that. And you did that. So take absolutely called eBay. And that's something that we had discussed. And like I know eBay was literally one of the first options we had. Um, it's potentially Kohl's. I know we discussed Kohl's.
Mhm.
And there was,
Target
I
and
think,
Kohl's
yeah,
and
which I said
eBay, I
Target
think.
absolutely not. Like, like I just like
Yeah.
there's no way. But like it was it fit the bill of like a big I get that it's like a big acquisition, but like eBay was spot on. That was yours too. Um, but as far as the chart goes, because I am going to talk about it because I'm here, and my thoughts about what I think about. Okay, so I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I just say I was less than impressed with his last interview that he did on CNBC. Was much less than impressed. And anyway, like to me, the TA doesn't change. Okay, and like I do think that this is going to likely, barring some kind of big, you know, which obviously like with eBay, I know the deal was rejected, right? Like it was rejected, but they could, I guess, keep offering, or they could keep, trying to do what they're gonna do. For me, um, nothing. I would say that nothing changes. I'm gonna turn off these EMAs because we're just in a range, so there's no. It's just noise. And I don't like. I still would say, which by the way, like we had a nice move, and I think this was likely, this was we had a pretty decent move um off of these levels. I mean, just from the top of the zone up here is a 15% move. That's not bad. It's not like chip like micron returns and stuff that are moving 15% a day, but hey, 15% is 15%. I do like. I would say that nothing here for me changes in terms of the chart itself. I personally am less enthusiastic about it, but from a technical perspective, nothing changes. Like I still think that this is a very important zone. If you are going to DCA, if you are going to be trying to be long GameStop, like this is a very very important zone to hold, because I think if this zone fails, you're going to see a lot lower, is my guess. But I do think that this zone hasn't really been able to break in 2 years. I don't see a reason for it to break now, barring some kind of news or some kind of like major screw up or some, you know what I'm saying? Like barring some kind of like thing, which, maybe I guess part of it for me is like maybe that opens the door for that after like the last interview that I watched, but I just don't really think that it's likely the case. I think that this is a really, really strong support. And I wouldn't change any of my analysis even with the eBay news, the eBay thing being worked into the mix now, whatever they do with that, if anything, I think that this is a really strong area. So wouldn't change my analysis. I know we talked at length about what I think about GameStop, or like what I think about Ryan Cohen specifically, but it's you know, I wouldn't change my analysis. It still is what it
Yeah.
is, and it's still holding. Again, like this is it's obviously went up to 27 and it's back at 22, dipped down even to like 2150, but still like this all this is just an area that like if I was wanting to be long GameStop, this is where I would be filling bids. And then again, you break that 1960, especially like kind of going back to this low around from 2 years ago, I would be really worried about a much larger drop, but I think that would be very difficult to do. Like I think I mean, I don't know what I know more about the fundamentals and stuff,
Yeah.
but it just seems like that would be pretty tough to expect. A 50% decline from here with kind of what they got going on. So
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
expect that.
they just have, I
But I
mean,
also like I don't know if there's much of a catalyst. I guess like I mean like the whole the whole eBay thing for me felt pretty flat in terms of what was actually offered and like what it did to GME, right? So it's like I mean I don't, it doesn't mean that they can't do something or like have something positive that's gonna like take the stock higher. I just don't like, my challenge is like when I look at this, like I mean, there are, 50 other things that I could sit here and name to you right away that are like doing something. So that's the
Yeah.
challenge, right? So like from a
Yeah.
chart and from like a, again, if you're like a GameStop investor or like you're like that's the company you love, hey, like do you, totally fine.
Yeah.
But to be in a range this long for years and not have any like real positive like material moves on this, when you have indices at new all-time highs, you have chips absolutely mooning and ripping left and right. You have, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
this is probably like not where you would like want, you're probably not feeling very good if you're like really long GameStop. It's, it's darn near like a stable coin at this point. It's like it's
I think
you
it's
know
been more of a long-term play, but I do think, and this is where we kind of differ here. So maybe just taking it back a little bit, just from their business, they've obviously, fixed all the bad stores and got rid of them, and the whole Pokemon Power Pack thing. I don't know if people have been watching that, but and I don't know if these numbers, these are not public numbers and they could be just, sauces I made it up type of thing. But it looks like those power packs are doing like, potentially hundreds of millions this quarter, which so we'll see
yeah. I mean,
when they
look,
come out.
like
It says high margin
for
business
me,
there.
it's like I already laid my case out on why I'm not that interested in GME. And it's purely because there are so many other interesting, way more interesting things that are happening right now. That like, I mean, which is, this is getting a little bit outside the topic, but like why I haven't really been trading crypto that much, because why? Like why would you when you are literally trading, you know, when you see like again, we see what tech is doing. You
Yeah.
see what chips are. It's like
Chips.
holy
AI
smoke! Why
chip.
are we talking about anything else, right? But
Yeah.
in terms of GME specifically, I would agree with you in the sense that this has more reasons to go up than it does down. Like I think we're like completely in alignment there, and I think again like this support, I think it will be really difficult to break. But if it does break, it's probably because something broke. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I like, so that's what I'll say. I don't see it as likely, but if it does, there's probably a reason that it did, is what I'll say,
And
right?
then
Like
getting back into the eBay thing, I do think that you're right. That first interview was pretty bad. I think he kind of did that on purpose, but
whether he
because
did or not, it was
the interviews
extremely
after
bad.
that were way more.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
was just
he kind of
I
stated his case a little bit better. But
yeah.
just getting into the economics of the deal, everybody kind of laughed at him, and that they can't afford. How are they going to do it? But and he did say that they were going to try to pull off something that hadn't been done. And here's what basically I think they're doing. And they've already kind of showed their hand a little bit. They have a 5%. Well, as of last quarter, they had a 5% position in eBay. 99% of it was options. And then they've raised that to 6.5%. Basically, what I think they're doing is they're basically going to try to get up to 10-15% ownership through options in the next whatever month. I think eBay's um, board meeting, I think, is either late June or July. It's coming up soon. I think they're gonna before that they're gonna buy a ton of the ownership of eBay through options, and then they're gonna use whatever cash they have left or whatever you know uh, money that they can raise from Ryan Cohen obviously has a lot of big friends, a lot of funds, some Saudi guys, some Qatari guys that are basically, I think, part of the TD Ameritrade 20 billion that they have as part of the deal. So they can exercise at any time. I don't think that's an issue. So if they get 15% of this company in the next month, um, that changes the vote a lot. And from what I've read, they need like a 51% type of thing, for, to start basically making changes at the board level, or for their offer to be accepted. And that's why he was saying he's going to go to the shareholders, and they're going to be a pretty big shareholder, and the management team who rejected the offer basically owns zero stock. So it's not as crazy as it kind of looked from the very beginning that they couldn't do it. I think they can do it. I think it might take longer than people think. It might be like kind of a keep keep adding ownership until we gain a board seat, and then we gain a board seat, and then you get a few other investors on board, and you start impacting the votes, and you just basically get rid of the old board. It's kind of what he did with GameStop. You buy an activist position, and then you change the board, and then once you have the votes, you can do whatever you want. So I think that's the play. Um, is it going to happen in the next few months, or is it going to take 6 or 12 months? I don't know. But for a longer term, I agree. Short term money, there's probably better stuff. But if you have some long term money and you think, I mean, eBay is a great business, and I think he did lay out some pretty good cases as to they would be better managers of the company along with GameStop. So we'll see. It's an interesting story, and it's been fun to watch. But now it's basically kind of a wait and see what
Yeah,
happens.
I agree. I mean, my thing is I could be looking at this, or I could be looking at this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shit, if we just had a
Which
chart of
Apple is
all the
like
2000,
new
the
all-time highs.
dot com tech companies chart, they're probably up like 50 to 100%
Yeah, I
in the
mean that's the
last
thing.
month.
It's like you
Insane.
have a lot of you know, you have a
And you
lot
have like
of
F5 networks and like Sienna and like, Harmonic Lightwave and like all these companies that have done
yeah,
zero
like
for
look
like
at this by the
25
way.
years.
Like just
Yeah,
unbelievable.
AMD.
Like AMD is
I mean,
like
yeah, a lot of these
I
are
mean
legit companies, but
ARM, it's like
yeah,
the point I'm making here is that there's stuff that is doing
yeah,
once in a generation type stuff, right? That like
for
where
sure.
they're that
For
are
sure.
absolutely like having ridiculously like crazy type moves. I mean, look at CRDO. It's here's a nice example. Is
Hmm.
came back. It's again have a nice impulsive move. Came back to your 21 of the daily. Really good support, and they closed at its new all-time high basically. On Friday. I mean, like this is immensely strong. Um, so I mean, you have stuff like ARM that was able to reach what is this R4 yearly pivot. Again, CRDO. You have stuff like Micron that's just absolutely been moving higher. I mean, dare I say ServiceNow, which like wow, look at that, like your 21 on the weekly was the top here. That's a test, like very like actually pretty impressive. But I mean, you have a lot of stuff which I don't class ServiceNow. I mean, well, ServiceNow to me is like even doing it's moving, it's directional, like so like in
Yeah.
terms of movement, because you can play both sides is the point, right? But it's like
Yeah, you
and
want
again
there to be volatility,
yeah, and
but
like I don't again, I'm not trying to diss on GameStop. I'm just saying like there's stuff though that's moving, right? And Phase
exactly.
is one that's like that is
Hmm.
honestly like very recent, nice breakout. That's
Yeah, all
there's a
all
lot of
the
stuff that like Dell. Here's one that you mentioned. It's like so here, look at the 8, man. Like look at that. So here's like a nice one. And another reason that I like to use, and then I use these a lot, in the options trading that I've been doing because I trade, I'm on like 3 minute time frame, trading 0 days and weeklies. So like I use these a lot on lower time frames. But like here, like look at your AEMM. It just is like this is an absolute rocket ship. So it's like, you know, three nice tests. The thing is, this thing's gonna catch up really quickly. If this thing kind of slows down, starts consolidating, like I would look for, you know, as long as this trend is continuing, you know, you play the trend as it is. But I mean, this is Dell. Like Dell is
Yeah.
you know, which we talked about this before we started the video, but I'm just saying it's like
Yeah.
there are so many things that are doing like absolute like moves that don't happen very frequently. Um
Yeah.
and
CPU,
I
servers,
think like, you know, honestly, like
you know,
our
RAM,
next video that we
memory.
do, I think we probably do, you know, some of these names. They just move so quickly. That's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
and my week is like crazy because I'm trading. Like I actually like for the first time in a while, it's like I things are moving so quickly and like there's so much volatility that I'm actually waking up at 5:30 in the morning to trade this again. Like I haven't done that in 8 years. But that's my point for me is like
It's
the
good
market
timing.
is yeah, the market is like giving you these opportunities that they just don't happen very often. So it's like to me, it's worth it to not be lazy and actually get up in the morning and trade these moves again. And you know, like as long as that's gonna happen, it's just like there's just so much that you know, there's so much opportunity right now. That it's
Yeah.
tough
The
to not want to
short
take
term
advantage of.
basket is on steroids right now for
Oh
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's like and to be clear about that, like for me, like it is short term. It's like I'm not, you know, again, I'm not looking to buy a massive bag of Dell at $300, right? But it's like I am happy to trade these weekly moves though. Absolutely, I'm happy to trade that. And again, I'm doing them like basic like I'm trading them through options. So it's like I'm only really looking at shorter periods of time anyway. But yeah, it's like the thing is like these are what's moving. And um, you know, again, this is kind of like where the market's attention has been. You look at Nasdaq. I mean, my
Yeah.
goodness, like this thing,
Should
like
we
look
end
at
on
this. Like
Nasdaq?
it's like okay. I mean, I don't have much to say aside from we're probably going to see 30,000 in short order.
Tonight.
You know, and it's like and it's a long holiday weekend, but you can kind of see again there was, you know, again speculation for the 734th time that, you know, the war is gonna be over soon, some kind of resolution. And you know, the thing is this is actually really positive. It's a continuation from last week. You know, we had a really strong close. Like if you look at it from a daily, we had like a really nice move up, like a grind higher towards the end of the week. And I do think that again, like this is likely to continue. It's like this looks really good, you know, for the time being. But this is just trending higher. And this is not something that I would be bearish on when it looks like this. You know, like it just wouldn't. Like this is very strong. ES is the same thing. And I know on one of my other charts, I actually had it kind of coming up into, I do think so. Like, here's your R1 for the year. And I know that there's like a fib extension or something that's around here. So, like, I would be a little bit cautious here. But like, this is very strong, very strong. Um, so I don't have anything negative to say about it yet. But I do think I would say for S&P particularly, I'm gonna be a little bit cautious around this area. But you know, again, things look things look good. So it's just like for me, I'm just and again, the you know, 99% of my trading, you know, this last month or so is like it's been, you know, I'm looking at things literally 0 day. So I'm looking at literally, you know, options that expire on that day. They're extremely volatile, and like you know, you have to be right on where, you know, you think price is moving in that given day, which I'm actually like pretty. That's like probably my strongest suit. But you know, again, I'm playing, you know, weeklies, so I'm looking Like my entire trading week is revolved around what's happening in this one candle, right? So I'm not too worried. Like obviously I care about what the overall trend is and like what the overall momentum is, which is obviously to the upside still. But it's like, I'm very much zoomed in on low time frames and like that's kind of my focus. I'm not like positioning myself necessarily to like see things much higher or much lower. So like I'm very much trading intra-week. um but wow, this looks, I mean, again, this is very strong. So it is what it is. This is
Yeah.
going to pull back some point. Yes, it is going to, and it'll probably be pretty nasty. But it's again just like this one was, it's likely to be another buy the dip opportunity is my guess. Like that's kind of, again, that I can spend an hour talking about high time frame analysis and kind of like what I think is going to happen for the next few quarters to basically 2026, 2027. But that's going to take way too long, and we're already 55 minutes into this video. Maybe we'll do that in the future one.
Yeah, for sure.
But like as far as like timing pivots and looking for certain, like I do think that we're probably near some kind of correction, but I don't necessarily think that that's it. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
I
it's
mean,
just it's
everybody on Twitter is like, I hope they don't make a deal because then they can't announce that they're getting a deal done like every day.
yeah, exactly.
You
And
know,
I
it's
and I
like
said that
once
in
it's
our
done,
chat,
it's like,
and it's
yeah, it's
true. It's
like,
like 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 my initial thought is like, man, can we just get this over with so it can move past it? And then I was like, wait a minute, like
yeah, I know.
I actually have been enjoying this volatility. Like, again, like and like for my trading, like what I've been doing again, 0 days, and like really focusing on low time frame stuff. Like I spend 8 hours a day. I'm on like a 3 minute time frame, so it's like when when a tweet moves, right? When a tweet comes out, deal happening, deal not happening. It's like what, like that gives me a lot
I mean,
of
if they
trading
sign this
opportunities.
deal and there's no sell the news, then then I don't know what people probably will kind of I think it is going to be one way or the other. Like when the deal is signed,
Yeah,
it,
it'll
it's going to be down big or up big. I
yeah.
don't know which one,
And
but
the truth is I don't really know either. Um I mean, the initial, just like it's been, the 743 times, like I mentioned, that like a deal's been announced or like, deal's imminent, it's close. The market reacted pretty positively to this last one, and we're holding this. Which is, and even on the and it even came the tweets that say just kidding, ha, like yeah. But like the market is still holding this. Bitcoin is still holding this, right? So it's like that's interesting. It's like I think again, like the market wants to go higher. It just
hold on. Let,
needs,
let me let me check the Trump hyperliquid
yeah.
addresses and
Is it
see
at
what
new
they
all? It's probably
what
at
they're
new all time highs.
saying.
Their portfolio is probably at new all time highs, but we won't get into that here. But and I mean the thing is I think it's very obvious to most people now. But it is what it is. And like the thing is, it's like I joked about it in our chat, said if you can't beat them, join them, like as a joke, right? So it's like if they're gonna if they're gonna be trading the market that much, so can I. Like so can we. It's like it is what it is. They're
Let's
gonna
get
give
it.
us they're gonna give us opportunity like this where you have a chart that literally looks like this. I mean, you just take advantage of it. It's like, so that's the only thing you can do. You can't do much else. So if they're gonna like, it is what it is. It's just like you just trade what you're given. That's kind of always been my role. It's just, sometimes, people get more emotional about it, myself included. It's like you get irritated, you get mad about things. But in reality, at the end of the day, if you can't change it, if it's not, like you can't personally like impact it yourself, then it's just like you have to
Just got
make
to take what the
adjustment.
market
You
gives you,
take
right?
what it gives you. And it's like, hey, if it's giving you this opportunity to make money, you just do it. This is what it is. It's a gift at the end of the day. But yeah, that's a different stream. I do think that it's important to kind of like, maybe we can go over some higher time frame indices. I do think that that's not, to kind of like frame kind of like the rest of this year. I do think it's I do think that we could have some kind of important timing events coming up. Obviously, like the Fed Wars just got sworn in, so he's gonna have his first, when his first decision that he makes as the new Fed chair, There's going to be a lot of eyes on that. There's going to be a lot, again, I don't want to get too much into that because that's going to take more time. But I do think that we have a lot to discuss in terms of what the market is, likely or could do for the rest of the year and what that means for a lot of these stocks that are up 200%, that type of stuff. But overall, I'll just say like it's bullish until it isn't. And if I'm gonna leave you guys with any one message, that's it. It's bullish until it isn't. So it's like there are people that wake up every day for some
Let's
reason,
fucking go.
and I don't know why they do it, but they wake up and they short the market every day, and I don't know why. But those people are getting carried out on a stretcher right now, and they are penniless, and they're probably gonna go try to borrow some money, so they keep shorting the market. I'm just gonna say, eventually they're gonna be right. Eventually, one of those people are gonna be right. But when you have candles that look like this, I mean, look, are we coming up to resistance? Yes. Like to me, this is a pretty decent resistance area, like the 70. We're getting into it. I'd have to like go through and find the chart. But I mean, we're like getting into,
Don't fight the tape.
this area. But it's like, yeah, like look, if we're continuing to grind higher, it's just, like you don't like there is no one that needs to short the top aside from just trying to pat themselves on the back and say I did it, right? Well, like you can let the market tell you that it wants to come down. That's what I'd say. Because it's likely to give you a bit of a, when we do get a corrective move off of this, it's probably going to be decent. It'll probably be a pretty decent move, but ultimately, probably another opportunity, let's just say. But it's like there's no reason to be the first in line, no reason. Because all those people are getting absolutely rinsed for the last couple of months. So, again, are we near probably a pretty tough area? My guess is yes. On ES particularly, I know it's somewhere up here, but there is some kind of. I remember having a box here. I have to go to one of my other charts to find it, but like we're nearing this. Again, this is your R1 yearly. This is likely to be a decent resistance at first. Of course, you can wick through it, that type of stuff, but I would be a little bit cautious here. On Nasdaq, we actually so we broke through, and we've had some action below the R1, but you can see like what it's doing, right? Like you can see that this wants to continue higher. It's like this is basically using this R1 as a support on a closing basis. So it's like this is very strong, and I mean, this is your next yearly, right? And this is
What's that? Almost 10%.
Well, you're wrong by 3/4%, Tig. So you need to get better at this. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's literally it's you get. I mean, you got it. It's like, I mean, you basically like another potential 10% move like this year, in terms of like the next resistance. And here's the thing: this chart's at this chart's at all-time highs. It gets tough to try to forecast like what kinds of moves you could expect out of this. But if you just did like a simple just like literally a simple extension, look at that. Okay, how funny is that? So you're 1-to-1, so it's literally measuring the low of this tariff move down, which again Trump Trump has a hand in a lot of this stuff. Your tariff low to your high to our current Iran low. Okay, so two events, interesting enough, right? Like this is like two like event driven lows. So like to me, that's confluent like enough for me to say like these two were caused. Again, they're like event driven lows. How's that? Your 1-to-1 of that is literally sitting at your R2. So like for me, for this year, again, this is kind of sneaking ahead. As long as you're above, again, like you could pull back all the way to your 8 EMA and you're still insanely bullish. You know what I'm saying? But like that's a drop. Like from here down to here that's a drop. Like 5%. From here down to here is 10% correction, but you're still bullish though. You know what I'm saying? So this is what you got to be worried about in terms of, but again, it's likely to be another opportunity, just like this one was. So, from like looking out for the rest of this year, and like this is like, you're talking like December, end of this year. I mean, it wouldn't shock me that much. Like it's possible, which is like a massive, massive move. But like if you know things are continuing, you're seeing chips still doing insanely well, memory doing incredibly well. You're seeing, you know, again, all the old dinosaurs like you were talking about, the Dells of the world, the you know, the HP is even like doing really well.
Yeah.
IBM is like had a crazy
BlackBerry,
day. Yeah.
Nokia.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
all these crazy, right? Like everybody getting in the mix here is like, I mean, this is your target for this last move, which is insane to think about. But like the target of this, your 1-to-1 of that is literally 32,000, 33,000, something like that, which is just mind blowing. And then look at this. Holy smokes, if this ain't confluent. You're 1618. And like I do not expect this year. Um I don't expect this year, but anything can happen when, you know, we have the president that we do. I mean, anything can happen. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like the next level of this, your R3 is literally your 1618 extension, which would be just like I just don't like. I don't even know what that is.
it could.
I mean, it's possible, but that's up another 30%. I mean, it's. I know that sounds insane,
It's
right?
happened before.
But it's a yeah, exactly. Like you look, I mean, like just like in the time that this is taken, which yeah, this is a better, you know, from here to here. We're okay, so we're up. It's literally doubling the move that we just did. This has taken 57 days. This is 8 weeks. Like this is 8 weeks, and we've moved 30%, 31%. So if this trend continues, which I don't, again, I don't, that's not my base case for this year, but you're absolutely right. It can happen. This one only took 2 months. Like we have 6 months, right? It's possible. But would be, oh my, could you imagine that? I just don't, I can't.
Wow.
That would be crazy, but it's possible. Okay. Um, but yeah, for like, and again, for like simple pullbacks, again, kind of like on this trend, you see when this, you know, kind of made its bottom, and then you see your red above your yellow above your green. You can see like this is telling you that the market is bullish again, right? That we're trending. It's very simple. The red 8, look how many opportunities you had along here. Like just look at that. You had a lot of opportunities. That was a terrible line, by the way. But you get my point. It's like you just watch this. There was a lot, like it literally rode the 8 EMA the entire way up before it started to form this range. So the point is, if I'm looking for one level, one pullback level, it's this 8. Wherever this 8 is. That's the first kind of like pullback target I would have, which is 5% lower. You know, 5%, which is 5% is a lot, but after a move like this, like that's not much at all, you know, but that would feel very painful. If we got that, it would feel bad. Headlines would be like tops in shorting, you know, and again, maybe it is, but it's probably not. But yeah, that's kind of like again, just very simple. Like my first area that I would be watching, which by the way, like this is likely to move up. You know, especially if we start trending a little bit higher, this is going to move up to this R1. So maybe we come back. Like this already is kind of your established local support over the last 3 to 4 weeks, right? You can see it. So, anywho, wow, I think it's a good way to end this on
Yeah.
a bullish note, right? That like things are looking up, things are
Bulls in
looking
charge.
higher. And yeah, the bulls are definitely in charge here. Except, I mean, Bitcoin. Even Bitcoin looks good. I don't, you know, that's next video. We'll talk about that. But like, it looks good, but it doesn't look anything like this chart. So, anyway, we'll leave it at that. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks everybody.
See you
Trade
guys.
safe out there.
Fucking go.